Hey everybody, how's it going? Steve the Amateur Historian coming to you from downtown Portland. I'm standing along Southwest 11th Avenue right here between Morrison and Alder, right down there. This is the location of another episode of Historic Murders Portland. So you see this big old behemoth of a building. This building is an old Elks temple, and I believe it was built only a short while after this case occurred. I don't know if maybe this case happened and it put negative feelings towards the housing that was located here. But in 1921 there was housing located here that predated this old Elks temple. And in 1921, at least in her own mind, a fairly sophisticated woman named Ruth Ann Baird lived here. Her home was, somewhere right along here, closer to 11th and Alder than 11th and Morrison. And interesting, because these cases come so close together, I do a case about a guy named Charles Reynolds murdering a guy named George Hibbins, I believe. And when George Hibbins was shot, he hobbled over to here, and this was the hotel he was staying at, right next to the Elks Temple. This is the Lincoln Hotel. This is where he stayed and lapsed and succumbed to his injuries after being shot for fooling around with Charles Reynolds' wife. So all these cases, they connect all over the place. I find myself continuously returning to new places. But for our case, Ruth Ann Baird was a woman in her I think she was 43 years old. She was living down by 11th and Alder, and she had caught the attention of a rather scruffy, kind of downtrodden, very much the opposite of her. She was very sophisticated, wanted the best things in life. And this guy named George Shepard comes into her life. He's a carpenter. He seems to be kind of scruffy. He's kind of poor. But he meets Ruth Ann Baird here, and his world is turned upside down. And it seems from the moment they met, George Shepard was making moves on Ruth Ann Baird. And according to friends, she always rebuked his advances. Always. And he always kind of kept trying. There's kind of this idea that she kind of looked down on him a little bit, but she played with his heart. She really did. I'm not saying that she deserved the fate that awaited her, but she would, if he asked her to go out with him, she would go out with him, but it was always like they were running errands or something. So she was seen around town with George Shepard, and it was probably putting some misguided ideas into the man's head. So, I mean, she probably didn't know how off the rocker this Shepard guy was capable of being, but either way, by kind of meeting him halfway, not dating him, not getting into a relationship, but spending time with him, she very much was playing with fire. And you could really see kind of this separation of class and how she really did kind of look down on him. Had he been well-to-do, she probably would have given him a shot. In addition to going around with him, he would show up at her place right across the street here, and he would do menial tasks for her. She essentially used him to pretty much do maintenance work for her and stuff. And I guess she would maybe prepare them some food and kind of lead him on and make him think that something was brewing here when in her mind it wasn't. So you think, okay, that's kind of a shitty thing to do to somebody. However, in the case of George Shepard, he felt, people heard this from him, he felt that because he was there for her and because he was doing things for her, that she was wronging him by not giving him a chance. So he, on the flip side, had that classic masculine, if I do work for you, you need to date me now. Then comes July 29th, 1921. As it seems, George Shepard shows up to give Ruth Ann Baird one more chance, and then he's done. He shows up. He's actually agrees to help her. He's doing tasks for her that day, and then when all is said and done, and they're probably going to part ways and whatnot, he takes another shot and asks her to be with them. She again says no and orders him to leave. This obviously makes him snap, and there was a witness. I don't know if she was in the place or if she was just close by. I have to reference. She was a woman named Allie Fleener, and she was the one who contacted authorities. And by her account, which is, you know, probably the most reliable one, because what happens next is she was in a room of the, so it was an apartment house that was located here at one time. And she was in her room at the apartment house when she said Shepard had shown up, they ate lunch, everything seemed to be fine. She was, you know, playing him along, and he was trying to be, you know, a nice guy to win over affections, essentially. And a little after this, when everything seemed to be fine, Fleener said that she heard Shepard walk up to Baird, and Baird said, "George, don't you come in here any farther or I will call the police." So obviously he was making a very aggressive move on her. He was done, I guess, being a nice guy, if that's even what he was doing. And Ruth Ann Baird was standing by the phone. She was ready to pick it up and call the police on George and have them come and deal with it. Then Shepard pulled out a gun and shot her twice, and then shot himself. And so both were dead at this location within a couple of minutes. They both just bled out on the scene. He just snapped, essentially. And you have to think that it's, I don't know if it was necessarily premeditated or what, but I think that guy was talking to me because he said he keeps going. Yeah, I do keep going. You don't mess with an amateur historian vlog. Get the hell out of here on your little scooter. Anyway, I shouldn't be laughing. This is not a funny matter, but that's what happened according to Allie Fleener, who was a witness, and obviously the two people involved are no longer, or were no longer around to give their side of the story, but it seems like it was probably premeditated what happened here. If he showed up and the idea was this was his last straw, if he had a gun on him, it wasn't, I'm gonna ask her one more time, and if she says no, then I'll just accept it and go. It was, she was gonna say yes, or he was going to do something drastic, and that's what ended up happening. Back here where this, of all places, where an Elks Lodge is now. So it's just, it's another classic example. This was the 20s. This had to be the 20s. Yeah, 1921. I knew that. Where just, this was such a reoccurring thing the first several decades of the 1900s, and I'm sure it happened pre-1900, of men murdering women just because they didn't want to be with them. I mean, it's not a shocker by any means, but that's what this all, you know, George Shepard was, you know, kind of a poor guy. He was kind of scruffy. He did his stuff. He did his menial tasks. And in Ruth Ann Baird, he saw someone that probably made him feel better about himself and made him probably feel that he could be better if he had someone like her in his life, in his world. And when you get that emotionally invested, that emotionally obsessed in something, you know, as time goes by and it doesn't happen, it's real easy to get obsessed and start taking a hope or a dream and turn it into something too big for you to handle. And when all is said and done, the police were contacted. Allie Fleener called the police again. They arrived. They found Shepard holding Ruth Ann Baird in like a loving embrace. He had shot her twice. One went through her shoulder into her chest. That was the fatal shot. He then shot himself, I believe, in the chest, and had probably a few seconds, just enough time to kind of flop down next to her. and kind of put his arms around her. This is a classic thing. This happened in multiple cases I've studied or looked at. This whole, men thinking they're murdering women, these loves of their lives out of some great love that's so strong that it drives you to something like that. And so after they do something so horrible as taking, the life of someone, then they let themselves die together in like this lover's embrace, and it's really twisted and really messed up. Especially in this case, like I can maybe see it like in a couple who's been married for a long time and a husband snaps or a wife snaps when one wants to leave. But this is a scenario that I think, I hate to say it, I feel like, oh, go ahead, oh, thank you. I feel like this George Shepard, this 1921 murder, this guy's kind of an early incel. I hate to put it that way, but he's one of these guys that, they never even dated, and he couldn't handle her rejection. I guess you could say a lot of these guys were incels in that vein, but no, seriously, But then he felt that he still felt like there was something special there, and that he had the right to continuously harass her and to try to possess her. And if she wouldn't allow that to happen, he had the right to do something horrible. People say that, he was super infatuated with her. He asked her to marry him sometimes, and she would just kind of, again, play him along. But at other times, he would, like, physically beat her. He would assault her. So he's just, he's this guy that, you would probably claim that he was so in love with her, he would do anything for her. But all he did was harass her in various ways. So it's totally crazy, totally scatterbrained how this all came together. But I mean, that was the case. That was the tragedy. No matter what Ruth Ann Barrett did to string this guy along, he obviously didn't have the right to do what he did. And because it was a murder-suicide, obviously premeditated, there was nothing to be caught. These homeless people are screaming random shit at me, and I'm trying to think. I'm so close to being done. What are you gonna do? Anyway, yeah, a lot of random people yelling stuff at me. Then again, I am getting closer to Chinatown, so what do you expect? But anyway, because they both went down in this incident, there was no trial. Obviously, everybody knew what happened, why it happened, what the motivations were, and it was just another tragic ending to someone's life because another human being couldn't accept the rights of another person, especially a woman, to do what they wanted with their lives, to say no when they wanted to. That's really the beginning and the end of it. Have things really changed that much? Not really, when you get down to it. So that's it. Sadly, tragically, that is it. That is the whole thing. And thank you guys as always for watching. There's so much noise, so many distractions, but I am downtown. You do kind of walk into that, and you have to kind of accept that that's going to happen. And still, sometimes too much of it goes on, and I just brain dead. But anyway, again, thank you so much for watching, for all the chaos that's going on. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, but keep it nice. And until next time, it's been Steve the Amateur Historian with another episode of Historic Murders of Portland.